play is called Our Town. It was written by Thornton Wilder, produced and directed by Rob Rickards, and in it you will see Miss Attiwell, Miss Bayarder, Miss Day, Miss Evans, and Miss Labro. You will also see Mr. Kalea, Mr. Coleman, Mr. Clark, Mr. Dean, Mr. Garn, Mr. Muscat, Mr. Marsh, Mr. Pierce, and Mr. Fasila. The name of our town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude 42 degrees 40 minutes, longitude 70 degrees 37 minutes. The first act will show you a day in the life of our town. That day is May 7, 1901. The time is just before dawn. The sky is just beginning to show some sneaks of light over in the east there, behind our mountain. Oh, the morning star always gets wonderful bright the minute before it has to go, doesn't it? Well, I'd better show you how our town lies. So, up here is Main Street. Way back there is the railway station. Over there is the Congregational Church. Across the street's the Presbyterian. Methodist and Unitarian are over there. Baptist is down in the hollow by the river. Catholic Church is over beyond the track. This here is our town hall and post office combined. Jail's in the basement. Now, this is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs. This is the back door. There's some scenery coming, for those of you that think you have to have scenery. Well, this is Mrs. Gibbs' garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhocks, heliotrope, and a lot of burdock. In those days, our newspaper come out twice a week, the Grover's Corners Sentinel. And then this here is Editor Webb's house. And this is Mrs. Webb's garden. Well, it's a lot like Mrs. Gibbs, only it's got a lot of sunflowers too. Nice town. You know what I mean? Nobody very remarkable ever come out of it, so far as we know. The oldest tombstones in the cemetery up on our mountain say 1670, 1680. There are Grovers and Cartwrights and Gibbses and Herseys, all the same names that are around here now. So, another day's begun. There's Doc Gibbs, coming down Main Street now. Coming back from that baby case. And here's his wife, coming downstairs to get breakfast. Oh, and there's Mrs. Webb coming to get her breakfast too. And here comes Joe Crowell Jr., delivering Mr. Webb's Sentinel.
Oh, morning, Doctor.
Oh, morning, Joe.
So, anyone ain't been sick today?
No, just some twins born over in Polish Town.
So, do you want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it. How's your knee, Joe?
It's fine. I never think about it at all. And like you said, always tells me when it's going to rain.
What's it telling you today? Gonna rain?
No, sir.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
Knee ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
Oh,
I want to tell you something about that boy Joe Crowell there. Joe was awful bright. Graduated high school head of his class. So he went to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated head of his class there too. It was all wrote up in the Boston papers at the time. Gonna be a great engineer, Joe was. But then the war broke out and he died in France. All that education for nothing.
Get up, Bessie. What's the matter with you today?
And here comes Howie Newsom, delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Oh, morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
A pair of twins over to Mrs. Goroslowski.
Twins, eh? This town's getting bigger every year.
Gonna rain?
No, no, fine day that'll burn through. Come on, Bessie.
Hello, Bessie. How old is Bessie?
Going on 17. Bessie's all mixed up about the route. Ever since the Lockhart stopped taking their quart of milk a day. She wants to stop and leave them a quart just to see. Keeps scolding me the whole trip.
Good morning, Howie.
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs. Doc's coming down the street.
Is he? Seems like you're late today.
Yes'm. Something went wrong with the separator. Don't know what it was. Doc,
Hurry.
come on, Bessie. Come on, Bessie. Come on. Well.
Time to get up. Everything all right, Frank?
Yes, I declare easy as pickings.
Bacon will be ready in a minute. Sit down and drink your coffee. Be able to catch a couple of hours sleep this morning, won't you?
Mrs. Wentworth's coming at 11. I guess I know what it's about, too. Her stomach ain't what it ought to be.
Oh, all told you won't get no more than 3 hours sleep. Frank Gibbs, I don't know what's going to become of you. I do wish you could go away someplace for a rest. I think it would do you good.
Emily, time to get up. Wally, 7 o'clock.
I declare, Frank, you've got to speak to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. He's no help to me at all. I can't even get him to cut me some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
No, he just whines. What he thinks about is that baseball. George, Rebecca, you'll be late for school. George!
George, look sharp.
Yes, Pa?
Don't you hear your mother calling you? Oh, I guess I'll go upstairs and get for you.
Wally, Emily, you'll be late for school. Wally, you wash yourself good. I'll come up there and do it myself.
Ma, what dress should I wear?
Don't make a noise, Rebecca. Your father's been out all night and needs his sleep. I washed it on the blue gingham for you special.
Ma, I hate that dress.
Now, children, you know breakfast is as good as any other meal, and I don't want you gobbling it up like wolves. It'll stunt your growth. That's the fact. Wally, put your book away.
Oh, Ma, by 10 o'clock I need to know all about Canada.
Now you know the rules as well as I do. No books at the table. For me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl at school for my age. I have the most wonderful memory.
Eat your breakfast.
Mama, we gotta go. I don't want any more. Gotta go. Bye.
Walk fast, but don't run. Wally, pull up your pants at the knee. Stand up straight, Emily.
Tommy's first dress under my best congratulations. Can you remember that?
Yes, Mom.
Rebecca, you look real nice. Pick your feet up. Bye. No, go away, not you. Go away, go away. Stop that. Fight. That's all you do. Oh, where did you come from? You're not one of mine. Oh, don't be so scared. Nobody's going to hurt you. Good morning, Myrtle. How's the cold?
Well, I still got that tickling feeling in my throat. As I said to Charles this morning, don't know as I've been going to choir practice this evening. Would be no use.
Now, Myrtle Webb, I've got to tell you something, because if I don't tell somebody, I'm going to burst.
Why, Julia Gibbs.
Give me some of those, please. Now, Myrtle, did one of those second-hand furniture men from Boston call on you last Friday?
No.
Well, he called on me. First, I thought he were a patient come to see Doc Gibbs. He wormed his way into my parlour, and Myrtle Webb, he offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highball as I'm sitting here.
Why, Julia Gibbs.
He did, the whole thing. Weren't so big I hardly knew where to put it. I almost give it to Cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to take it, aren't you?
No, I don't know.
You don't know $350? What's come over you?
Well, if I thought I could get the doctor to take the money and go away someplace on a real trip, well, I'd sell it just like that. You know, Myrtle, it's been the dream of my life to see Paris, France. Oh, sounds foolish, I guess. But for years I've been promising myself if we ever had the chance.
Well, if that second-hand man's serious about buying it, you sell it, Julia. You'll get to see Paris, all right.
Yeah, but the
Just
doctor...
drop a few hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Well, I talked to the doctor and I kind of beat around the bush a bit and I said to him that maybe if I got a legacy, well, I'd make him take me someplace. But, well, you know what he's like. I haven't had a serious word out of him in years. He just said might make him discontented with Grover's Corners to go traipsing around Europe. Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it. Only, it seems to me that just once in your life, before you die, you ought to see a country where they don't speak in English. And they don't even want to. It's early afternoon. All 2,642 of them have had their dinners, and all the dishes have been washed. There's an early afternoon calm in our town. There's a buzzing and a humming coming from the school buildings. Only a few buggies on Main Street, the horses dozing at the hitching posts. You remember what it's like. Doc Gibbs is in his office, tapping people and making them say, "Ah." Mr. Webb is cutting his lawn over there. 1 man in 10 thinks it's a privilege to push his own lawnmower.
No, sorry, Peter.
No, sir, I got it wrong. It's later than I thought. There are the children coming home from school already.
Come on, Louise, I've got to go home. I promise.
Emily, walk slow. Who do you think you are today?
Oh, Papa, 1 minute you tell me to stand up straight, and the next you just call me names. That's why I don't listen to you.
Well, I do declare, I never did get a kiss from such a fine lady before.
Oh, hello, Emily.
Oh, hello, George.
You made a fine speech in class today.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to talk about the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Miss Corcoran told me to talk all about the Louisiana Purchase instead. But I worked an awful long time on the both of them.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your head at night when you're doing your homework over in your room.
Why? Can you?
Yeah, Emily, what do you think? We can work a kind of telegraph system from your window to mine. Then maybe you could give me a hint or two about those algebra questions. Not the answers, just some little hint.
Hints are allowed. Sorry. Yeah, well, thanks.
Yeah, well, thanks. Thanks, Emily. I've got to be going out to the baseball field. Thanks for the talk. Afternoon, Miss Webb.
Afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
Long, George.
Emily, come and sit with me here. Come and help me string these beans for winter. Well, that George Gibbs allowed himself to have a proper conversation, didn't he? He's growing up. How old is he now?
I don't know.
Well, he must be about 16.
Mama, I made a speech in class today. It was very good.
Well, be sure to recite it to your papa at supper. What was it about?
It was about the Louisiana Purchase. It was like silk off a spool. I want to make speeches my whole life. Mama, is that one big enough?
Try and get them a little bigger, dear.
Mama, can I ask you a question? serious.
Seriously, dear. Not serious.
Seriously. Will you?
Well, of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
All my children have fine features. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't.
Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
Yes, I've already told you. Oh, stop it. You have a very pretty young face. Now, that's enough of that foolishness.
Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything.
I am telling the truth.
Hey, Mama, did you used to be pretty?
Well, yes, I was, if I do say so. I was the prettiest girl in town, next to that Mamie Cartwright.
Oh, but Mama, you've got to say something about me. Am I attractive enough to get people interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. Now stop it. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes. Now, hurry along and bring that bowl with you.
Oh, Mama, you're no use at all.
Oh, thank you, that'll do. We'll have to interrupt again here. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Thank you, Emily. Well, a good deal of time's gone by. It's early evening. You can hear choir practice going on in the Congregational Church. The children are at home doing their schoolwork. The day's running down like a tired clock.
Now listen up, everybody. You come into this world to give pleasure. Softer, softer. You get it out of your heads that music's only good when it's loud. You leave loudness to the Methodists. You couldn't beat them if you wanted to. Now again, tenors.
Emily.
Oh, hello, George.
Hello.
My, is the moonlight terrible? Can't work at all.
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
Third.
George, that's the easiest of them all.
Well, I don't see it. Can you give me hints?
I'll tell you this. The answer is in yards.
In yards?
Yes, George, in square yards.
Square yards?
Yes, don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Wall. Oh, I see. Wallpaper. Oh, thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. My, is the moonlight so terrible? Choir practice still going on. I bet if you hold your breath, you can hear the train go all the way to Contacoop. Do you hear it?
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, better get back to work.
Yeah, well, good night, Emily, and thanks.
Good night, George.
Before I forget, how many of you coming Tuesday afternoon to sing at Fred Hershey's wedding? Have show of hand? Oh, that's fine. That's right nice. That's right nice. We'll do the same music we did for Jane Trubridge's last month. But now we'll sing Art Thou Weary, Art Thou Angry? That's a question. So let's answer it, ladies and gentlemen. Ready?
Oh, George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Pa.
Make yourself comfortable, George. I'll only keep you a minute. George, how old are you?
I'm 16. Almost 17.
And what do you want to do after school's over?
Well, Pa, I want to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
You'll be willing, will you, to get up early, to milk and feed the stock? You'll be able to hoe and hay all day?
Why, sure I will. But what do you mean, Pa?
Well, George, while I was in my office today, I heard a funny sound. What do you think it was? It was your mother chopping wood. Now there you see your mother getting up early, cooking meals all day, washing and ironing, and still she has to go out in the yard and chop wood. Like she was, and you eat her meals, You put on the clothes she keeps nice for you, and then you run off and play baseball. Well, I knew all I had to do was call your attention to it. Here's a handkerchief, son. George, I've decided to raise your spending money 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother, because that's a present you give her. But because you're getting older, and I imagine there are lots of things you must find to do with it.
Thanks, Pa.
Good boy. You can keep the handkerchief.
Good night.
I'll tell Mr. Webb. He sure doesn't want to put it in the paper.
My, it's late. Oh, good night, Irma. Well, that's a real nice choir practice. Myrtle Webb, will you look at that moon? Potato weather for sure.
Naturally, I didn't want to say a word about it in front of those others. But now that we're alone, really, it's the worst scandal that ever was in this town. What? Simon Stimson.
Oh, now, Luella.
Now, Julia, for the organist of the church to drink and be drunk year after year. Do you know he was drunk tonight?
Now, Luella, well, we all know about Mr. Stimson, and we all know about the troubles he's been through. And Dr. Ferguson knows about it too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him on there in his job, well, then the only thing the rest of us can do is just not to notice it.
Not to notice it? But it's getting worse.
No, Luella, it isn't. It's much better. Now, I've been in this choir twice as long as you have, and it's nowhere near as bad as it was. My, how I hate to go to bed on a night like this. But I'd better hurry. Those children will be up till all hours. Night, Luella.
Well, we had a real nice time.
Oh, you're late enough.
Take the later for you, so Frank.
Yeah, and you stopping at the corner to gossip with a lot of hens.
Go. Don't be so grouchy, Frank. Come out and smell the heliotrope in the moonlight. Isn't it wonderful? And what did you do all the time I was away?
Oh, I read as usual. And what were the girls gossiping about tonight?
Oh, believe me, Frank, there's something to gossip about.
Yeah. Simon Stimson. Far gone, was he?
Worst I've ever seen him. Oh, Frank, where's that going to end? Dr. Ferguson can't go on forgiving him forever.
I guess I know Simon Stimson's affairs better than anyone in this town. Some people ain't made for small town life. I don't know how that'll end. But there's nothing we can do but just leave it alone. Come, get him.
No, wait. Frank, I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
Well, I think it's my duty to make plans for you, to get away for a real rest and a change. And if I get that legacy, well, I'm going to insist upon it.
Now, Julia, there's no sense in going over that again.
Oh, Frank, you're just unreasonable.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window. You're always ruining everything.
Well, let me look just a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no moon there. George, do you know what I think? Do you? Maybe the moon's getting nearer and nearer, and soon there'll be a big explosion.
Oh, Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon were getting nearer, the guys that sit up with the telescopes all night would see it first. Then they tell about it, and then it'll be all in the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on South America?
Well, probably
Canada,
is.
And have the whole world?
Probably is.
Who's that up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, it's me, Papa.
Why aren't you in bed?
Oh, I don't know. Moonlight's so wonderful. And then the smell of Mrs. Gibbs' heliotrope. Can you smell it?
Yeah, I can. Now tell me, have you got any troubles on your mind, Emma?
Troubles, Papa? No.
Okay, enjoy yourself. Don't let Mama catch you. Good night, Emily.
Good night, Papa.
Three years have gone by. Yes, the sun has come up over 1,000 times. Summers and winters have cracked the mountains a little bit more, and the rains have brought down some of the dirt. Some babies that weren't even born before have started talking in regular sentences already. And some people who thought they were right young and spry have noticed that they can't pound up a flight of stairs like they used to without their hearts fluttering a little. Yes, all of that can happen in 1,000 days. Nature's been pushing and contriving in other ways too. A number of young people fell in love and got married. Almost everybody in the world gets married, you know what I mean? Well, in our town there aren't hardly any exceptions. Most everybody in the world climbs into their graves married. Well, the first act was called the daily life. This act is called love and marriage. There's another act coming after this, and you can probably guess what that's about. So it's 3 years later. It's early morning only. This time it's been raining. It's been pouring and thundering. Mrs. Gibbs' garden and Mrs. Webb's over there, drenched. All those bean poles and pea vines drenched. Oh, it may begin again any minute. Oh, there's Mrs. Gibbs and Mrs. Webb, just as if it were an ordinary day.
Get up, Bessie.
Here comes Howie Newsom delivering the milk.
Good morning, Howie. Do you think it's going to rain again?
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs. Well, it rains so much, I guess it's going to clear up.
Certainly hope you're right.
What can I give you today?
Well, I'm going to have a house full of relations, so I guess I'm going to need a 3 of milk and a 2 of cream.
My wife says to tell you, is how we both hope they'll be very happy. No, they will.
Thank you, Howie. And tell your wife I hope she gets to the wedding.
She'll be there. She'll be there if she can. Morning, Mrs. Webb.
Oh, morning, Mr. Newsom. Now, I know I asked for 4 quarts of milk. Could you spare me another?
Yes'm. And there's 2 of cream.
Do you think it might rain, Mr. Newsom?
Well, I was just telling Mrs. Gibbs. It rains so much, I guess it'll clear up. My wife says to tell you is how we hope they'll both be very happy. No, they will.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Newsom. And thank Mrs. Newsom. Looking forward to seeing you at the wedding.
We'll be there. Wouldn't miss that. Come on, Bessie.
Well, Ma, the day has come. You're losing one of your chicks.
Oh, now, Frank Gibbs, don't you say another word. I feel like crying every minute.
The groom's up shaving himself, only there ain't an awful lot to shave. Whistling and singing like he's glad to leave us. Every now and then he says, I do, to the mirror, but it don't sound convincing to me.
I declare, Frank, I don't know how he's going to get along. I've put out his clothes. I've made sure he had warm things to put on. Frank, they're too young. Emily's not going to think of these things. He'll catch his death of cold within a week.
I was remembering my wedding morning, Julia.
Oh, don't start, Frankie.
I was the scaredest young feller in the state of New Hampshire. I thought I'd make a mistake for sure. When I saw you come down the aisle, I thought you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. The only trouble was, I'd never seen you before. There I was in the Congregational Church, marrying a total stranger.
Well, how do you think it was for me, Frank? Weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces, that's what they are.
How'd you sleep last night, Julia?
Well, I saw a lot of the hours struck off.
I get a shock every time I think of George setting out to be a family man. I tell you, Julia, there's nothing so terrifying in the world as a son. The relation of father and son is the darndest, awkwardest.
Well, mother and daughter's no picnic, let me tell you.
They'll have a lot of troubles, I suppose. But it's none of our business. Everybody has a right to their own troubles.
Yes, people are meant to go through life 2 by 2. Take natural to be lonesome.
Julia, do you know one of the things I was scared of when I married you?
Oh, go along with you.
I was afraid we wouldn't have material for conversation more than it'd last us a few weeks. I was afraid we'd run out and eat our meals in silence. That's a fact. Well, you and I have been conversing for 20 years now, without any noticeable barren spells.
Yes, well, good weather, bad weather, take two choice. But I always think of something to say.
You do.
Did you hear Rebecca stirring upstairs?
No, only day of the year Rebecca hasn't been managing everybody's business up there. She's hiding in her room. I got the impression she was crying.
Oh, Lord's sakes, this has got to stop. Rebecca, come down and get your breakfast.
Morning, everybody. Only 5 more hours to live.
Thank you very much, Dr. and Mrs. Gibbs. I'm afraid I'll have to interrupt again here. You see, we want to know how all this began. This wedding, this plan to spend a lifetime together. I'm awfully interested in how big things like that begin. Well, you know how it is. You're 21, 22, you make some decisions, and then, whoosh, you're 70. You've been a lawyer for 50 years, and that white-haired old lady at your side has eaten over 50,000 meals with you. How do things like that begin? Well, George and Emily are going to show you now the conversation they had when they first knew that, as the saying goes, knew they were meant for one another. But before they do that, I'd like you to try and remember what it was like to be very young. And particularly those days when you were first in love, when you were like a person sleepwalking, and you didn't quite see the street you were in, and didn't quite hear everything that was said to you. You're just a little bit crazy. Would you try and remember that, please? Now, they'll be coming out of high school at 3 o'clock. George has just been made president of the junior class. And as it's June, that means he'll be president of the senior class all next year. And Emily has just been made secretary and treasurer. Well, I don't need to tell you how important that is. Yep, there they are coming down Main Street now.
Come on, Louise, I've got to go home. Ernestine, isn't that Latin the worst thing ever? Come over to my side. Tell your mother you have to. Bye, Helen. Bye, Fred.
Hello, Emily.
Oh, hello, George. Hi.
Can I carry your books home for you?
Why, thank you. It isn't far.
Excuse me, Johnny. Say, Bob, if I'm a little late, start practice anyway, and give her some long, high ones.
Bye, Lizzie.
Bye, Lizzie. I'm awfully glad you were elected too, Emily.
Oh, thank you.
Well, Emily, why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
Look, you've been treating me so funny lately.
Well, since you mention it, George, I might as well say it right out. Bye, Miss Corcoran.
Oh, bye, Miss Corcoran. What was it?
I don't like the whole change that's come about in the last year. Now, I'm sorry if this hurts your feelings, but I've got to say the truth and just shame the devil.
Change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot. And I used to watch you as you did everything. Because we've been friends for so long. And then you began spending all your time at baseball. You never stopped to speak to anyone anymore, George. Not even your own family. And it's a fact. You become awfully conceited and stuck up. All the girls say so. They may not say so to your face, but that's what they say behind your back. And it hurts me to hear them say it, George. But I've got to agree with them a little. Now, I'm sorry if this hurts your feelings, but I can't be sorry I said it.
I'm glad you said it, Emily. I never thought such a thing was happening to me. I guess it's hard for a fella not to have faults creep into his character.
Well, I always expect a man to be perfect. I think he should be.
Oh, I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
Well, my father is. And as far as I can tell, your father is too. There isn't a reason on earth why you shouldn't be either.
Well, I always think of it as the other way round. That men are not naturally good, but girls are.
Well, you might as well know right now that I'm not perfect. Girls are more nervous than men. Now, I'm sorry about what I said. I don't know what made me say it. It's not the truth.
Emily?
Now, I can see that it's not important, and you're not like that anyway.
Emily, would you like an ice cream soda or something before you go home?
Yeah, I would.
Hello, George. Hello, Emily. What do you have? Why, Emily Webb, what have you been crying about?
Oh, she just got an awful scare, Mr. Morgan. She nearly got run over by the hardware store wagon. Everyone says Tom Huckins drives like a crazy man.
Well, now, you take a drink of water, Emily. You look all shook up. I tell you, you gotta look both ways before you cross Main Street these days. Gets worse every year. What do you have?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate. Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
No. Have an ice cream soda with me. 2 strawberry ice cream sodas, Mr. Morgan.
2 strawberry ice cream sodas? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There are 125 horses in Grover's Corners this minute I'm talking to you. State inspector was in yesterday. And now they're bringing in these automobiles. Best thing to do is just stay home. Well, I can remember when a dog could go to sleep all day in the middle of Main Street and nobody come along to disturb him. There you are. Enjoy 'em. Yes, Mrs. Ellis, what can I do for you?
So expensive.
No, don't you think of that. We're celebrating our election. Then you know what else I'm celebrating?
No?
Look, I'm celebrating because I've got a friend who tells me all the things that ought to be told to me.
Oh, George, I wish you didn't think of that.
No, Emily, you stick to it. But I bet I'm going to change. I bet I'm going to change. And Emily, I want to ask you a favour.
What, George?
Emily, if I go away to State Agriculture College next year, will you write me a letter once in a while?
Oh, I certainly will. I certainly will, George. Although, seems as though maybe after 3 years, letters from Grover's Corners wouldn't be so interesting. You know, Grover's Corners is in a very important place when you think of all of New Hampshire. But I think it's a very nice town.
The day wouldn't come when I wouldn't want to know all that's happening here. I know that's true, Emily.
Well, I'll try to make my letters interesting then.
You know, Emily, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if he thinks it's important to go to agriculture college to be a good farmer.
Why, George.
Yeah, and some of them even say it's a waste of time. You can get all this information anyway from the pamphlets the government sends out. And Uncle Luke's getting old. He's about ready for me to start taking over his farm tomorrow if I could.
My.
Yeah, and like you said, being away for 3 years and in other places and meeting other people. Gosh, if anything like that would happen, I don't want to go away. I guess new people aren't any better than the old ones. Well, I bet they almost never are. And I feel you're as good a friend as I've got, and maybe I don't need to go and meet the other people in other towns.
But George, what if it's really important for you to learn all those things about cattle judging and soils and things like that? Of course, I don't know.
Well, Emily, I'm going to make up my mind right now. I won't go. I'll tell Paul about it tonight.
George, I don't see why you have to make up your mind now. Not when it's a whole year away.
Well, Emily, I'm glad you spoke to me like about that thing, that fault in my character. What you said was right, but there was one thing wrong in it. That was when you said that for a year I was noticing people and I was noticing you, for instance. Why, you say you were watching me when I did everything. Well, I was doing the same to you when... Sure, I made sure who you were sitting with and where you were on the bleachers, and for 3 days now I've been trying to walk home with you, but something's always got in the way. Yesterday I was standing against the wall waiting for you, and you walked home with Miss Corcoran.
George, life's awful funny. How could I have known that? I thought
Listen, Emily, I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to agriculture college. Well, it's because I think that once you found the person who you're very fond of, I mean a person who's fond of you too and likes you enough to be interested in your character, well, I think that's just as important as college is, and even more so. That's what I think.
I think it's very important too, George.
Emily?
Yes, George?
Emily, if I do improve and make a big change, could you be, would you be...
I am now. I always have been.
Well, I guess this is an important talk we've been having.
Yes. I suppose it is.
I'll walk you home.
Well, now we can get on with the wedding. There are an awful lot of things to do at a wedding. There are a lot of thoughts that go on during a wedding. Well, we can't get all of that into one wedding, naturally, and especially not a wedding in Grover's Corners, where they're awfully plain and short. In this wedding, I'll play the minister. And that gives me the right to say a few more things about it. For a while now, the play gets pretty serious. You see, some churches say that marriage is a sacrament. Well, I don't quite know what that means, but I can guess. It's like Mrs. Gibbs said a few minutes ago. People were meant to go through life 2 by 2. Now this is a good wedding. But people are so put together that even at a good wedding there's an awful lot of confusion going on way down deep in people's minds. And we thought that that ought to be in our play too.
I don't know why on earth I should be crying. There's nothing to cry about. It came upon me at breakfast this morning. There was Emily eating her breakfast as she has done for 17 years. And now she's going to be eating in somebody else's house. I suppose that's it. And Emily, she suddenly said, "I can't eat another mouthful," and laid her head on the table and cried. The whole world's wrong. That's what's the matter. Here they come.
George, what's the matter?
Ma, I don't want to grow old. Why is everybody pushing me so?
Why, George, it's what you wanted.
No, Ma, listen to me.
But no, you're a man now.
No, Ma, listen to me. For the last time, I tell you, all I want to do is be a fella.
George, if anyone should hear you, stop it. Well, I'm ashamed of you.
What? Where's Emily?
Oh, George, you gave me such a turn.
What are you crying about, Ma? I'm going to get married.
Let me catch my breath.
Now, you save Thursday nights, Ma. Emily and I are coming over every Thursday night. What are you crying about? Come on, we've got to get ready for this.
The flower that opens, each little bird that sings. God made the glowing colors and made the tiny wings.
I've never felt so alone in my whole life. George over there, looking so. I hate him. I wish I were dead. Papa! Papa!
Emily, no, you're just upset.
Papa, I don't want to get married.
Emily, you're just nervous.
Papa, I'm sure there's somewhere we can go to. Let's run away.
Emily, now stop and think about it.
No, Papa, don't you remember when you used to tell me I was your little girl? There must be lots of places we can go to. I can work for you. I can keep house.
You mustn't think of such things. George, come here. Emily, you're marrying a fine young man. George is a fine fellow.
Papa.
I'm giving away my daughter, George. Do you think you can look after her?
Well, I want to try, Mr. Webb. Emily, I want to try. I love you, Emily. I need you.
If you love me, then help me. All I want is someone to love me.
I will, Emily. Emily, I'll try.
And forever and ever, do you hear?
Come, they're waiting for us. Come quick. You know it'll be all right.
Do you, George, take this woman Emily to be your wedded wife?
Perfectly lovely wedding. Oh, I don't think I've seen such a lovely wedding before. I do love a good wedding, don't you? Oh, doesn't she make a lovely bride?
I do.
And do you, Emily, take this man George to
Don't
be
know
your
when
wedded
I've been to such a lovely wedding, but I always cry. I don't know why it is, I always cry. I just love to see young people happy, don't you? Oh, I think it's lovely.
I've married over 200 couples in my time. Do I believe in it? I don't know. M marries N, millions of them. The cottage, the Sunday afternoon drives in the Ford, the first rheumatism, the grandchildren, the second rheumatism, the deathbed, the reading of the will. Once in 1,000 times. It's interesting. Well, let's have Mendelssohn's Wedding March.
Aren't they a lovely couple? Oh, I've never been to such a lovely wedding. I'm sure they'll be happy. I always say, happiness, that is the great thing. The important thing is to be happy.
This time, 9 years have gone by, friends. Summer 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rarer. Farmers coming into town in Fords. Everybody locks their house doors at night now. There ain't been any burglars in town yet, but everybody's heard about 'em. You'd be surprised, though, on the whole, things don't change much around here. Well, this is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop, a windy hilltop, lots of sky, lots of clouds, lots of sun often, and moon and stars. You come up here on a fine afternoon and you can see range on range of hills, And way down there, quite a ways down, is Grover's Corners. Yes. Beautiful spot up here. Mountain laurel and lilacs. I often wonder why people would choose to be buried in Woodlawn or Brooklyn when they might spend the same time up here in New Hampshire. Well, over there are the old stones. 1670, 1680. Strong-minded people that come a long way to be independent. Some people walk around here laughing at the funny names on the tombstones, but it don't do any harm. And genealogists come up from Boston, get paid by city folk for looking up their ancestors. Well, I guess that don't do any harm either. Wherever you come near the human race, there's layers and layers of nonsense. Well, this here's the new part of the cemetery. Here's your friend, Mrs. Gibbs. And let me see. Here's Mr. Stimson, that was organist at the Congregational Church. And Mrs. Soames, that enjoyed the wedding so. Remember? Oh, and a lot of others. Yes, an awful lot of sorrow is sort of quieted down up here. Now, there are some things that we all know that we don't take out and look at very often. We all know that something is eternal, and it ain't houses, and it ain't names, and it ain't earth, and it ain't even the stars. We all know in our bones that something is eternal, and that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people ever lived have been telling us that for 5,000 years. And yet you'd be surprised how people keep losing hold of it. There's something way down deep that's eternal about every human being. But you know as well as I do that the dead don't stay interested in us living people for very long. Gradually they lose hold of the earth and the ambitions they had and the pleasures they had and the things they suffered and the people they loved. They sort of get weaned away from the earth. That's the way I put it. Weaned away. And they stay here while the earth part of them burns away, burns out. And all that time they slowly get indifferent to what's going on in Grover's Corners. Some of the things they're going to say maybe will hurt your feelings, but that's the way it is. Mother and daughter, husband and wife, enemy and enemy, money and miser. So all of these terribly important things kind of grow pale around here. And what's left when your memory's gone and your identity, Mrs. Smith? Well, there are some living people. This here is Joe Stoddard, our undertaker, supervising a new-made grave. And there comes a Grover's Corners boy that went out west, left town and went out west.
Good afternoon, Joe Stoddard.
Good afternoon. Tell me now, do I know you?
I'm Sam Craig.
Goodness gracious sakes alive. Of all people, I should have known you'd come back for the funeral. You've been away a long time, Sam.
Yes, indeed. I've been away over 12 years now. But I'm in business out in Buffalo now, Joe. I was in the East when I got news of my cousin's death, so I thought I'd combine things a little and come and see the old home. You look well.
Yep, can't complain. Very sad, our journey today, Samuel.
Yes.
Yep. I always say I hate to supervise when a young person gets taken. Yep. They should be here any moment now. I had to come up here early today. My son's supervising at the house.
Old Farmer McCarty. I used to do chores for him after school. Had the lumbago.
Yep, we brought Farmer McCarty up here several years ago now. Yep. Yep.
Why, look. It's my Aunt Julia. I'd forgotten that she... Of course. Of course.
Yep, Doc Gibbs lost his wife 2 or 3 years ago now. About this time. And today's another pretty bad blow for him too.
That's my sister Carey's boy, Sam. Sam Craig.
I'm always uncomfortable when they are around.
Simon.
Do they choose their own versus much, Joe?
No, not usual. Mostly it's the bereaved pick of us.
Doesn't sound like my Aunt Julia. Well, not many of those her sisters left now, aren't there? Let me see. I was looking for my fathers and mothers.
With the Craigs, over in Avenue F.
He was organist at church, wasn't he? Drank a lot, we used to say.
Not a lot of people supposed to know about that. He'd seen a peck of trouble. Took his own life, you know.
Did he?
Hung himself in the attic. They tried to keep it quiet, but of course it got around. Now, he chose his own epitaph. You can see it down there. Ain't a verse exactly.
But it's just some notes of music. What is it?
I wouldn't know. It was wrote up in the Boston papers at the time, though. Yep, yep.
Joe, what did she die of?
Who?
My cousin?
Oh, don't you know? Had trouble bringing a baby into the world. It was her second, though. A little boy about 4 years old.
The grave's going to be over there.
Yep. And there ain't much more room over here with the Gibbses, so they're opening up a whole new Gibbs section over in Avenue B. Oh, you'll excuse me now. I see they're coming.
Who is it, Julia?
It's my daughter-in-law, Emily Webb.
Well, I declare the road up here must have been awful muddy. What did she die of, Julia?
In childbirth.
Childbirth? Oh, I'd forgotten all about that. My, wasn't life awful and wonderful?
Wonderful, was it?
Now, Simon, remember?
Well, I remember Emily's wedding. Wasn't it a lovely wedding? And I remember her reading the class poem at graduation exercises. Emily was one of the brightest girls that ever graduated from high school. I've heard Principal Wilkins say so time after time. I visited them at their farm just before I died. Perfectly beautiful farm.
It's on the same road as we used to live on. Yep, right smart farm.
I always liked that hymn. I was hoping they'd sing a hymn.
Hello?
Hello, Emily.
Hello, Miss Gibbs.
Oh, Mother Gibbs. Hello.
Emily.
It's raining.
Yes. They'll be gone in a minute. Just rest yourself, dear.
Seems like thousands and thousands of years since I happily remembered that was my favourite hymn. I don't like being new here. I wish I'd been here longer. Well, Mr. Simpson, how do you do?
How do you do, Emily?
Mother Gibbs, me and George have made that farm into just the loveliest place you've ever seen. We thought of you all the time. And we've got a new barn and a great long cement drinking machine too, with the money that you left us.
I did?
Mother Gibbs, don't you remember? The legacy you left us. Why, it was over $350.
Yes, yes, Emily.
Won't be the same to George now, without me. But it is a lovely farm. Live persons don't understand, do they?
No, not very much, dear.
They're sort of shut up in little boxes. I feel as though I knew them last thousands and thousands of years ago. Mother Gibbs, we have a Ford too. It never gives us any trouble. I don't drive though. Oh, Mother Gibbs, when does this feeling go away? This feeling of being one of them. How long does it?
Just wait, dear. Just wait and be patient.
I know. Look, they're finished.
Shush.
They're going. Mother Gibbs. It's Doc. He's bringing some of my flowers to you. Oh, he looks just like George, doesn't he? I never realised how troubled and how in the dark life people are. Oh, I loved him so. From morning till night. But that's all they are. Just troubles.
Little cooler than it was. Yes, that rain's cooled it down a little. Those northeast winds, they always do the same thing, don't they? If it ain't a rain, it's a 3-day blow.
But Mother Gibbs, one could go back. One could go back there, into living again. I know it. I feel it. Just then, I was thinking about the farm and there I was. And with my baby on my lap as plain as day.
Well, of course, you can.
I can go back there, into living again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't.
But I can, can't I? Go back?
Yes. Some have tried, but they soon come back here.
Don't do it, Emily.
Don't, Emily. It's not what you think it would be.
But I won't choose over a painful day. I'll choose a happy day. I'll choose the first day. I'll choose the day that I first knew that I loved George. That can't be painful. Why?
Because you not only live it, you watch yourself living it.
Yes?
And as you watch it, you see the thing that they down there never know. You see the future. You know what's going to happen afterwards.
But why should that be painful?
That's not the only reason you shouldn't do it, Emily. When you've been here longer, you'll see that our life here is to forget all about all that, and to think only of what's ahead, and be ready for what's ahead. When you've been here longer, you'll understand that.
Mother Gibbs, how can I ever forget that life? It's all I know. It's all I had.
Emily, it's not wise. Really it isn't.
But it's a thing I must know for myself. I'll choose a happy day anyway.
No. At least choose an unimportant day. The least important day of your life will be important enough.
And it can't be since I was married. Since I've had the baby. I can have a birthday at least, can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
All right? February 9th, 1899, a Tuesday. Do you want any particular time of day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
Oh, we'll begin at dawn. You remember it had been snowing for several days? But it had stopped the night before and they'd begun clearing the roads. The sun's coming up.
There's Main Street. Oh, and Mr. Morgan's drugstore before he changed it. Oh, and there's the stables.
Yes, it's 1899. 14 years ago.
This is the town I knew as a little girl. And look, there's the old white picket fence. I've forgotten about that. Oh, I love it so. Are they inside?
Yes. Your mother will be coming downstairs shortly to get breakfast.
Will she?
Yes. And you remember your father had been away for several days? He came home on the early morning train.
No.
He'd been back to his college to make a speech in Western New York at Clinton.
Children! Wally, Emily, time to get up!
Oh, how young Mama looks. I never knew Mama was that young.
Now you can come down and get dressed by the kitchen fire if you like, but hurry along.
Mum, I can't find my blue hair ribbon anywhere!
Just open your eyes, dear, that's all. Now, I laid it out special for you on the dresser. If there were a snake, it'd bite you.
Yes, yes. Papa.
Morning, Mother.
Oh, how'd it go, Charles?
Oh, fine, I guess. Told them a few things. Everything all right here?
Oh, yes. Nothing special happened. Been mighty cold. Howie Newsom says it's 10 below over at the barn.
Yeah, colder than at Hamilton College. Students' ears are falling off. Dang Christian. Paper have any mistakes in it?
No, none that I noticed.
Yeah, fine.
Coffee's ready when you want it.
Fine, fine.
Oh, Charles. It's Emily's birthday. Did you remember to get her something?
Yeah, I got her something here. Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Charles, don't disturb her now. You can see her at breakfast. She's slow enough as it is. Children, I won't call again.
I can't bear it. They're so young and beautiful. Why did they ever have to get old? Mum, I'm here. I'm grown up, Mama. I love you all. I can't look at everything hard enough. Good morning, Mama.
Well, good morning, my birthday girl. And many happy returns. Now, there's some specials over on the kitchen table for you.
Oh, Mama, you shouldn't have. Birthday or no birthday?
Birthday or no birthday, you eat that breakfast good and slow. I want you to grow up to be a big, strong girl. Now, that blue one there's from your Aunt Carrie, and I reckon you can guess who the photo album's from. Found it on the kitchen doorstep this morning collecting the milk. George Gibbs. Must have come over pretty early in the cold. Right nice of him.
Oh, George. I've forgotten about that.
Now, you chew that bacon good and slow. It'll keep you warm on a cold day.
Oh, Mama. Just look at me 1 minute as though you really saw me. 14 years have gone by, Mama. I'm dead. You're a grandmother, Mama. I married George Gibbs, Mama. Wally's dead too. He died on a camping trip to North Conway. We felt just terrible about it, don't you remember? But right now, we're all together. We're all happy. Let's look at one another.
Now, that yellow over there, that's one I found in your grandmother's attic. I think you're old enough now, and I hope you like it.
And this is from you? Oh, Mum, I love it. Oh, it's lovely. It's just what I wanted. Thank you.
Well, I hoped you'd like it. Hunted all over for it. Your Aunt Nora couldn't find one in Concord, so I had to send away to Boston for it. Now, something there from your brother Wally. He made it in manual training. He's mighty proud of it, so you make sure you make a big fuss. And I reckon that's something from your papa there. Don't know what it is.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Here he comes.
I can't bear it. Everything goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. So all that was going on, and we never even noticed. Take me back up to my grave. Oh, but wait. One last look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Grover's Corners. Mama, Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking. Mama's sunflowers. Goodbye to food and coffee. New iron dresses and hot baths. Goodbye to sleeping and waking up. Oh, world, you're too wonderful for anyone to realize you. Do live people ever realize life whilst they live it? Every minute?
No. Well, the saints and poets, maybe they do some.
I'm ready to go back to my grave.
Were you happy?
No. I should have listened to you. That's all human beings are. Just blind people.
Look, it's clearing up. The stars are coming out.
Oh, Mr. Stimson, I should have listened to them.
Yes, now you know. Now you know that's what it was to be alive. To move about in a cloud of ignorance. To go up and down trampling on the feelings of those who, well, of those about you. To spend and waste time as though you had 1,000,000 years. To always be at the mercy of one self-centered passion or another. Now you know. That's the happy existence you wanted to go back to. Ignorance and blindness.
Simon Stinson, that ain't the whole truth and you know it. Emily, look at that star. I forget what it's called.
My boy Joel was a sailor. Knew 'em all. He'd sit in the porch evenings and tell 'em all by name. Yes, sir. Wonderful.
The star's mighty good company.
Yes, yes, 'tis.
Here's one of them coming.
That's funny. Ain't no time for one of them to be here. Goodness sakes.
Mother Gibbs. It's George.
Yes, dear. Just rest yourself.
It's George.
My boy Joel, who knew the stars, he used to say it took millions of years for that speck of light to get to the earth. Don't seem like a body could believe it. But that's what he'd say. Millions of years.
Goodness, that ain't the way to behave. He ought to be home.
Mother Gibbs.
Yes, Emily?
They don't understand, do they?
No, dear. They don't understand.
Most everybody's asleep in Grover's Corners. Yes, it's clear enough. The stars are doing their old crisscross journeys in the sky. Scholars haven't quite settled the matter yet, but they seem to think that there are no living beings up there. Only this one keeps straining away all the time, trying to make something of itself. You know, the strain gets so bad that every 16 hours, everybody lies down to get a rest. 11 o'clock in Grover's Corners. You get a good rest too. Good night. Like to say great thanks to Rob and Anne-Marie.